Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. I'm at 902 subs. Hopefully I'll earn your subs so I can reach 1,000 and get this channel monetized. So E3. E3 was one of the biggest gaming expos of all time. If you're as old as me, I'm 33, you probably knew it as the gaming event where all the big titles would be marketed before they released in the fall and winter seasons. And it was a huge event. I was lucky enough to attend when I got my first press pass. It was the highlight of my career. I was just like, oh my god, I can't wait to go. And when I went, I made new connections and everything. It was through E3 I got my first AAA connection and AAA games. 505 Games was the first company to actually trust me and give me actual full coverage with a lot of their big games. Not saying that Sony and Microsoft didn't do the same, but I really had to fight for that. But 505, specifically Adam Simon, if he didn't take a chance on me, I don't know where I would have been. He was very nice to me. I told him, hey, this is my first E3. Can you help me out on what I'm supposed to... I was so nervous and overwhelmed with all the press invites and all that. He gave me all the tools I needed in order to survive it. He was just like, okay, this is what you do. Schedule this. Do this. I know some people at doing this indie company here. I'll get you some connections with them. And he went above and beyond with me. He gave me my first AAA review code for Control and got me Journey of the Savage Planet, which is another incredible game you should play if you love BioShock or System Shock. But regardless, yeah, I owe a lot to E3 for the connections I developed and the people I met. It was such an incredible event that you just meet so many people, but unfortunately times just shift. Nintendo was the first one to drop out, then Sony, then Microsoft. They still had booths at E3. I remember when Nintendo still had the Direct during Pokemon Sword and Shield when it was coming out. They had this huge event, booths that were dedicated to Pokemon, Luigi's Mansion 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There was a giant arena, esports arena where people would go up and play Super Smash Bros. On the big screen, and it was massive. It was bigger than Sony and Microsoft in my opinion. But regardless, E3 has just not seen good days. I went to the digital event they held, I believe it was 2021 or 2022, and it was a disaster. No one knew what was going on. I talked to my contacts and everything, and they were all the same. They were like, we don't know how to set up meetings. We don't know how to get into meetings. It was one Zoom call after the next, and it was just such a disaster. And since now developers and publishers have better options to get their games and information to the people, it's just E3 doesn't seem like it adapted well like the Summer Game Fest, where Jeff Keighley took everything he learned from E3 and implemented in this much more popular, and from what I talked to people who went to this, they said it was a lot more condensed and easier to manage. They had a much more welcoming atmosphere. And he also, had YouTubers and content creators like One True King, which is Asmongold's company, all coming in together. And not to mention, he has really big connections. I've talked to Jeff Keighley when he came to the New York Video Game Awards. Yeah, he was just he knows how to create these events himself, and he knows how to market them in a much more practical and modern way. E3 has never really modernized, and that's a real issue. So when it was canceled last year, a lot of people just correctly assumed that this would be the end of things, and it seems it's coming. So this comes from Insider Gaming. E3 2024 and 2025 canceled according to LA Tourism Board. And what could be a crushing realization for the future of E3? If it wasn't an obvious one, the Los Angeles City Tourism Board seems to have confirmed that E3 2024-2025 had both been canceled behind doors. This revelation surfaced in a sizable document that originated from a meeting held by the City Tourism Commission on Wednesday, June 21st. In the document, there was a page dedicated to citywide convention sales, with a reference to a particular figure considering E3 cancellations for 2024 and 2025. On March 30th, E3 2023 was officially canceled, and in the wake of the news, countless showcases and events reared their heads to fill a sizable gap left by what was the biggest gaming expo on the planet. Now, it seems that 2024 and 2025 have followed suit, but that news hasn't been made public yet. In the thread serviced on Reset Era, our Roasty broke down the news uncovered by the aforementioned document and expanded on it, highlighting where the plans have been confirmed for dates on 2024 and 2025 events. Following the cancellation of 2023, GameIndustry.biz reached out to the president and CEO of ESA, Stanley Perret-Lewis, asking whether there would ever be an E3 convention, and he responded positively, suggesting that the firm was committed to providing an industry platform. I mean, of course, they're going to say that. They're not going to come out and say, hey, we're in dire straits right now. Summer Game Fest has replaced us, kinda, and we don't know how we're going to come back from this because, again, seeing that Summer Game Fest literally was a massive success and already has some of the biggest publishers and developers, lined up for them. Like, why would they do E3? Like, it would just be too expensive, and this is cheaper and much more effective. In the case, it is still that case that the LA Tourism Board hit the nail on the head, confirming the cancellations of both the 2024 and 2025 event, and potentially highlighting the complete downfall of the show in general. I think, yeah, it's kind of done, but we have this article from Steven Truolo. ESA rep tells me that E3 2024's fate is still to be announced. City of LA had listed it as canceled. The ESA is still currently in conversation with the ESA members and other stakeholders about 2024 and beyond, and no final decisions about the event have been made at the time. From an ESA note sent to the members, game publishers, we expect E3 to continue to be part of the ESA storytelling currently in convention with a number of stakeholders about E3 2024 beyond should look like to best serve the interactive entertainment industry. So the way I read this is that they're right now trying to secure investors for this, and since they don't have the capital to secure their position right now at the LA Convention Center, they basically say this is canceled until they can secure the money, which I can understand why they would do that, because it's basically opening the slot for other opportunities. If someone else decides they want to take the venue for themselves during that period, and they do have the capital to back it up, that's what they are saying. I mean, that's how I would see it. I'm not an expert on this stuff of how bookings work, but if I was booking events, I would say, do you have the capital to book this event a year in event ahead? No, then we're going to say it's canceled until you come up with the money so we can open up opportunities for other people, which I think is a prudent business move. At this point, I don't know how they're going to secure investments, considering, again, Summer Game Fest was a huge success. Lots of great developers, studios, indie developers, and content creators came to this event. So, I mean, I would assume that if I was an investor, I would go to this instead of the E3 event, considering it's probably cheaper, more efficient, and a lot more popular right now because it's the new kid on the block. A lot of people like new stuff, and it's just been generally a lot more well-received because, let's face it, Jeff Keighley is a huge name within the gaming industry. His name carries a lot of weight, especially when you have the you have the Game Awards, and technically he's getting more involved in the New York Game Awards, so a lot of stuff Jeff Keighley has his fingers dipped into. So, without him, I'm not saying that they can't survive, but I think E3 should probably downsize itself. I know that seems like a really bad idea if they do that, because E3 has a presence. It's like if you worked for the U.S. president and suddenly you're working as, I don't know, the CEO of a furniture company. Like, you're still working in a prominent position, but you're not as prominent as you used to. You're downsizing yourself, and I think that's what they have to do. They have to realize, hey, we can't do this big, huge event anymore, and maybe we should do something a bit smaller, like maybe just, get smaller, maybe don't focus so much. Maybe do it at a different time period, because Summer Game Fest kind of happens at the same time now. Maybe do it at a different period. I know, again, it's probably blasphemy for me to say this stuff, but you have to think in practical knowledge. I'm probably going to make enemies now. They're probably not going to invite me back at E3 ever again if I decide to go. But it's not to say that E3 hasn't had its big controversies. Remember when all those journalists including mine, got their information leaked? I was freaking out about that. But it turns out I don't live at that address anymore, so it's not as bad. They still have my name and stuff like that, so it was a little scary. But they've had incidents like that, so there is that situation. Not to mention, again, you have big competition right now and other avenues that you have to continue with. It does show that Summer Game Fest, that this stuff can exist, that there can be physical events. It's just that, maybe don't make it so big or so problematic for the user, because one of the biggest issues that I did run to whenever I went to E3 was that everything was just so far apart and difficult to find. Like, I would literally have to go and ask like other people, like, hey, how do I get to this part of the event, or where do I go here? And they would have to like show me like very specifically, you have to go through this door, then that door, then this door, and then you see all these little boots that like the office, and then you go into this door. It's just like it was really, really annoying in that sense, because you just felt like you were going from hallway to hallway, and if you make a wrong turn, you're just lost. But I don't know. The way I see this, at E3 is could survive if they make much more practical changes. But tell me what you think. Do you think E3 is dead? Let me know in the comments below. That's me signing out.